Hello, good morning. Anybody online? It's Brian Sunny here in my clinic. It's coming to the end of July. How time has flown. Hello, welcome. Can we do a sound check? Can everybody hear me okay? How was that? I assume you can hear all right. Hello. Hello, good morning, welcome. I thank you for your support. Can I check that you can hear me okay? Good. Right. So I hope you can hear all right and you can see okay. Now, today we're going to talk about the secret weapon in your hands. Now, I said before that you have to take full responsibility for your own health, especially with regard to the COVID situations in the country. Hospitals filling up everywhere, right? So, but even if you are able to get in the hospital, at the end of the day, the body will still have to heal. Right? So, the secret weapon is in your hands. If you think very carefully, it is in the food we put in the mouth, right? So the healthy nutrition, healthy diet is the most important thing you can do in terms of maintaining your health and maintaining the strength of your immunity so that you are less likely to get any infections. So when we talk about food, its influence on ourselves, it's the most important aspect. Hello, welcome. So, people estimate that there are 30 trillion cells in our body, but some estimates even 100 trillion, somewhere along the line, 30 to 100 maybe. A huge number of cells everywhere. Each cell has the same basic structure, right? This is understandable because we all start with one cell. Now, there's a rapid turnover of some types of cells in our body, and some studies estimate that every day some 300 billion cells are replaced, especially within the blood cells, and also in the gastrointestinal tract, in our intestine. Right? And these cells have rapid turnover, change, have to change very quickly. Right? But some cells are permanent, like brain cells and cells in the heart. And these remain forever. So the basic structure is still the same. Now, the most important aspect of the cell, which is what keeps our cell intact, is our cell membrane, right? So now you might think the cell membrane is just that layer that surrounds the cell, but within the cells there are also different compartments, and these are all surrounded with cell membrane. So what makes up the cell membrane is basically 2 layers of fat. We call this phospholipid bilayer. Right? So essentially 2 layers of fat, which keeps the inside of the cell from the outside, and also different compartments inside the cell from the outside influence surrounding it. So now the cell membrane is made up mostly of saturated fat, right? But there are important roles for polyunsaturated fat, like omega-3 and omega-6, which are required for 2 main functions. One, the special channels that allow substances to go in and out of the cells, and also the special receptors through which our body can detect foreign invaders like viruses and bacteria, and also our internal cells that are damaged or changed already. So today we want to concentrate on the immune system and how the system works, right? So we talk about having vaccine and how the body can fight against the invading viruses and so on. At the end of the day, the body's ability to fight, to heal, is still the most crucial part, right? So doctors talk about what's the best agent, what's the best drug to use against any infection, including virus infection. But at the end of the day, it is still your body's ability, your own cell's ability to fight and to recover that is important. And we talk about vaccine, how having vaccine could protect us. It could, yes. But the way vaccine works is whether it is life attenuated or kill virus type from China, or this modern type, the mRNA vaccine. The idea is still to stimulate our own cells to mount an immune response. So if your body cells are so damaged that it is not able to mount any response, then whatever you do is not going to be successful. So what determines our body's ability to mount an immune response, our immune cells, is the integrity of, firstly, the receptors of the cells, and secondly, the functions of the cell, the mechanism of the cell that's working properly. So if these 2 mechanisms are damaged, then whatever you do is not going to be successful, and eventually will all succumb. And in another session, we'll talk about the other types of diseases, and they're all interlinked, right? So I said that the omega-3, omega-6, these are the so-called essential fatty acids, are important for the receptors of our immune cells to function properly, right? It is the shape on the molecule which is important, and that polyunsaturated fats like omega-3 and omega-6 have unique 3D shape configuration, right? So, and this configuration, as part of the complex of the receptor mechanism, is critical to its function. Now, if your omega-3 is damaged, that means the shape is changed already, then the receptor mechanism is damaged, which means that when this comes into contact with a foreign antigen, like, for instance, the virus, it is not able to detect that is normal, firstly. And secondly, even if it is able to detect that, then the cellular mechanism, the reaction following that has to be activated, right? If that part also is damaged, then it's gone case because it would not succeed, right? So it is so important to have this concept, that it is such an important issue to maintain the integrity of our cellular functions. So we say, yeah, okay, I take a lot of omega-3, I take all these, fish oil supplements and everything, so what's the worry? The worry is the instability of the oil, right? So now, in a natural form, it is good for our body, our cells. In fact, we can't survive without it because, you call essential fatty acids, right? Essential because the body cannot make it. It has to come from the food. And there's no mechanism to convert damaged, misshapen omega-3 and omega-6 back to the normal version, right? So if you take in the bad stuff, it's going to remain in your body, right, for a long time. So the problem is that these polyunsaturated fats and oil are very unstable. So it is the processing that's causing the damage, right? And I talked before about margarine. It's the worst thing anybody can take because the damage is so severe. So once the damage of omega-3 and omega-6 is in your body, circulating all around, then it will lead to damage to your cellular mechanism. As I said earlier in the introduction, that there's a rapid turnover of cells in our body, especially in the blood cells and also the gut, the intestine. So if you have a lot of this damaged stuff floating in the body, then this can be incorporated into the cells, so there will be further damage, right? Now, and also whatever damaged oil like this that gets into our body will remain in our body for a long, long time. Now, coming back to the basic about nutrition and so on, right? If you can take tons of meat, right? So it's protein, or carbohydrate, sugar, and complex. Whether it's complex and so on, if it's not absorbed, then it doesn't really matter all that much in terms of our internal thing. But of course, it's important also for our gut to function properly, right? So protein are broken down in the gut, in the intestine, to the amino acid constituent. So whether you get the first class protein, well, the difference is whether that protein has all the constituent amino acids that our body needs, right? But whatever it is, that applies to carbohydrate too. Right? It is the sugar. That means it's broken down into simple sugar in the intestine. Before absorption occurs. But with fat, it is different, right? So, hello, you were joining in. So, with fat, the mechanism of absorption is slightly different. There are two ways, two pathways. One is, if it's not very long chain, as you know, the animal fat and most other vegetable fat and so on are very long chain. That means it can be 20, 24 carbon long, right? But if it's shorter chain, like medium chain triglyceride that you get in coconut oil and so on, or short chain and hello, welcome. Medium chain triglyceride, the absorption takes place easier, right? It gets through into our portal blood. These are the system that link our intestine straight to the liver, right? So this is the portal blood, and then once it gets to the liver, then the liver can make use of it, for energy generation and so on, right? But the longer chain has a different pathway. They cannot go straight into the blood vessels, small blood vessels. They are packaged in the lining cells of the intestine, back into the long package of what we call triglycerides, the three fatty acids linked together, right? Through the lymphatic system, right? Then they travel via what we call the thoracic duct. So these are the big ducts hello, welcome. Big lymphatic ducts, the thoracic duct, which eventually then drain into our venous system in the neck, right? So, and that's why after a fatty meal, there is a larger amount of this fatty stuff in the lymphatic system, and even once it empties into the bloodstream in the vein, there can be a certain amount of fatty-looking blood in the venous blood. Anyway, so but I said earlier that the body has no mechanism to change the damaged polyunsaturated omega-3 and omega-6 back to normal one, right? So this would be circulating in our system and contribute to the damage in our cellular mechanism. So this starts right from the beginning, right? I said earlier that we all start from one cell, right? The fertilized ovum. So then this ovum divides and divides and divides, and it becomes a fetus and a baby, right? So where does the fat for the fetus come from? From the mother's diet. It still boils down to the diet, right? So that is the most important part. Unfortunately, over the years, over the decades, there have been such misunderstanding on this issue because everybody was worried about cholesterol, which is a non-issue. I will talk about that in another occasion. Cholesterol and saturated fat, right? And then, the change in our diet pattern. People call this the Western or American diet, the fast food industry and so on, right? So, which has led to all this damage to our cellular metabolism. And this is not just America or Europe, it's everywhere, right? Even the furthest corners of the world, certain populations, certain indigenous people still stick to their very traditional way. They haven't been exposed to all this kind of funny influences, and they're maybe still okay. And I say, well, I've been very happy. I have been very careful with my diet all the time, but unfortunately, this is all hidden everywhere, right? So we are all at risk of developing this kind of trouble. So if we damage our immune system through mostly the damaged polyunsaturated oil, then when we are faced with any infection, virus, especially relatively new one, or something that's mutated, they change, then we are at risk of suffering, becoming ill, and dying from it. Right? So that's a good step. It is in your own hands because you can choose what you eat, right? So if you're still saying, if you still believe this thing called the heart-friendly sunflower margarine, then you should very, very seriously rethink. And I've been talking about this for a long time. I have talked about it, so everybody should know. But unfortunately, most people still don't know, so I have to keep doing it so that eventually some of it would stick, right? So, but of course, whatever damage is there, which you have accumulated over the years, and it's not surprising nowadays because, like people in their teens now develop what we call onset diabetes and, heart disease and so on, right? So it is not surprising. So whatever you've accumulated will remain in your body for a long, long, long time. So we need to try to improve it to make sure that firstly the good stuff goes in so that when we replace ourselves, and especially in the intestine and the blood and our immune systems and so on, then there is a good basis, especially with fat, for the body to build new functioning cells and that function properly against infection and so on, right? So that's important. On the other hand, whatever that's accumulated in the body is still there as causing inflammation. This is a general term, right? Inflammation. So a lot of us, I would say, most of it would need additional help, right? Because it is not a matter of, okay, I've changed my oil and tomorrow I'm okay. Because, as I said, the half-life of oil in our body is estimated to be 500 days. So a lot of us need additional help, right? Because most of the time, we don't have that that many years to try to renew ourselves and so on, right? So you need additional help, and if we can do it naturally, yeah, without waiting for things to happen and thinking about drugs and procedures and surgery and so on, right? Isn't it much, much better? So the healthy diet is the most important first step, right? Then we need additional help in the natural form, so that is increasing our intake of fresh fruits and vegetables, right? And reducing as much as possible the damaged stuff, especially with regard to oil, right? So there are other natural things that we can do. We can harness the beneficial part of our sunshine, right? This is where the far infrared rays come in, and also natural substances that can improve our immune system, right? So I hope that this basic knowledge would help you in some way to taking the responsibility for your own health. In another occasion, we will talk about all these other armamentarium that you can have. Right? We do this every Monday, Wednesdays to Fridays at 3:30 p.m. If you want to know more of how this can help, these additional things can help, then do join us. Thank you all for joining us. If you find this useful, do like and share this. I hope to see you again on another occasion. Goodbye.